Welcome everyone to our first Arizona Symposium or Rep Roundtable. I'm very, very excited to have all of you here today. Excited to allow the Arizona market to get to know each one of you more deeply and also to kind of get to know Amwins more intimately as well. But before we jump into kind of Arizona dynamics, what we do as an organization, how we think we can fit in and benefit our brokers, I want the audience to learn a little bit more about each one of you. So if each one of you could just give us your name, how long you've been in the industry, and I want one interesting fact about you as well. So I'm going to start with you, Michael.
I'm Michael Martin, and been in the industry for around 5 years now. And interesting fact would be, well, my time is very focused around my kids right now, so it's a lot of volleyball for them and whatever interests that they are. So I'm going to be that parent on the sideline, kind of correcting the coach.
All right. It always works out well, by the way.
It does not work well.
How about you, Chelsea?
Chelsea Staehling, Regional Sales Manager, local to Arizona. I've been in the industry 15 years with Amwins for one. Something I feel is important for you to know is I'm a big Bengals fan. So that means Monday morning when you call me, if I've had an L that weekend, maybe take it easy on me.
Well, you have a son who's an exceptional football player and playing college football, which is really, really exciting. Now, question for you, do you handle a loss on his side as difficult as a Bengal loss?
No. A Bengal loss really takes it to the heart. That Super Bowl, my heart hurt.
Mr. Stiles.
All right, hi, I'm Mark Stiles, Regional Sales Manager here in Arizona Market. Been in the industry for 21 years. About 10 of that on the broker side, about 10 on different versions of the wholesale side, 3 of which have been here at Amwins Connect. What most people do know about me is I have 8 children. So I'm very, very busy with my home life with 8 kids that range from 2.5 to 18. So starting, basically, pre-care all the way up to college, so good times. What a lot of people don't know is I'm a fairly avid cyclist, mountain biker. I've been mountain biking for about 30 years. Don't have as much time to do it these days, but thoroughly love mountain biking here in Arizona and across the country, and just something I'm passionate about, aside from kids and family.
So 2 things for you, Mark, and we'll start with the easy one first. What's the most epic ride you've ever been on?
Oh, that's a good question. The most epic ride was a race that I do, or was doing every year up in Prescott called the Whiskey 50. Okay. And it's usually held the tail end of April.
Okay.
Which in Prescott, which the elevation is a little bit higher than Phoenix here, and usually fairly, mild, good temperatures, but it snowed at the very start of the race. Actually, at the very start of the race, it started to kind of like sleet rain. And then as we got up in elevation within the first, 15, 20 minutes, it started to snow and hail and storm. And it was a 50-mile race with 5,000 or 6,000 feet of elevation climbing. I don't know how I finished. I would say that 65% of the field dropped out of the race at some point. So that was probably the most epic, is just being able to finish that 50-miler with barely any feeling in my fingers, and it was pretty epic.
So I have to ask, was there any whiskey involved?
There is. Towards the tail end of the race and sometimes the beginning of the race, there are people on the sidelines that are handing out little shooters and stuff. I chose not to partake until about the last half mile.
All right.
So that's
Good
why
strategy.
he couldn't feel his fingers.
Yes. But it's on Whiskey Row in Prescott, which starts on Whiskey Row, which is a famous strip of old Western bars. And so that's why they call it the Whiskey 50.
And so I also have to say, my second comment is when Mark told me that he had 8 children, my mind immediately went to, man, how many dirty socks does his house produce in a given week, right? So I know you have your handfuls and you're a great father, and it's a great part of your personality as well. So Yolanda.
Hello.
The newest member of the Amwins family.
Yes, I've been at Amwins now going on 8 months. It's been a great journey so far, but prior to this, I have about 15 years industry experience. Again, my life is centered around my daughters. Both of them play sports, so if it's not a club game over the weekends, it's after school or school games as well with my other one. I recently have a new driver, so as you can imagine, that's extremely stressful. Almost as stressful as a 4th quarter in the industry, but yeah, so that's happening, and they're just growing and just trying to keep up with everybody.
So we have a little bit of a theme going here, I think across the board, is family is very important, and we have a lot of family that's into sports. So what kind of sports mom are you?
I'm the cheerleading mom. I'm the one that brings that cold cloth for their necks when they're sitting, when they're waiting to bat. I love bringing treats and the snacks and making sure they're good. So I'm kind of that mom, and yes, I'm the yeller too.
Okay. So have you ever been spoken to by an umpire?
No. If anything, I want to be friends with the umpire because I want the good calls.
You want the 50-50
I offer him
call.
water. I'll
Solid
offer him
strategy.
water
Very
for
nice.
sure.
So if my math is correct, and I think somebody's already corrected me on this, but we have 56 years of industry experience right here, right? A lot of experiences, a lot of knowledge, a lot of relationships in this market. And so I think that's one of the central values of all of you. And at the end of the day, I think Amwins is a great organization, brings a lot of value, a lot of resources and capabilities, but it starts and ends with you. And just really excited, I would say, to have all of you from your unique perspectives and experiences serving this market. So let's jump into the market a little bit, right? I've had the opportunity over the last 3+ years to start to interact and get to know this market. And there are two things that I've really walked away with. One, it's a very, very dynamic market. There is a lot going on here, right? And the other thing is I've been extremely impressed by the broker community here. People know each other, there's a lot of respect here, and I think that also goes across even our competitors in the marketplace. So as each one of you kind of look right now, like you had mentioned, going into Q4, a lot going on, what do you think are the biggest challenges our brokers face on the near term and even into the distance into next year and years to come?
Well, we have a lot of small businesses here in Arizona, and I think price is a huge factor. The ACA market is changing, and I think that makes people a little bit nervous because they won't have as many options as before.
I can agree with you on that. Definitely price is a factor. And we don't see the cost of healthcare going down. It's just trending up and up and up. So you're seeing more carriers pull out of the ACA market. But what's great about Arizona is that they're pretty innovative. So that we were pretty much the first to even introduce HSAs and high deductible plans, many years ago. And now we're kind of one of those forefront markets that have really embraced level funding. So they're always looking to different solutions. And I think that there's still some out there that we can bring that are a little bit unique and something to help alleviate that cost for our small businesses here in Arizona.
Yeah, brokers are problem solvers, and obviously, premium is a problem. We see a lot of groups kind of bouncing back and forth because of the dynamics with the ACA market, fully insured under 50, and then the level funding market in that small group space, which is, can be a little volatile if depending on the health of the group. So one of the things that Amwins does really well, and we've worked really hard over the last several years to make sure that we're presenting a good product, is help that broker, properly spreadsheet that group that is maybe fully insured now, and they're looking at level funding and kicking the tires a little bit on that, being able to present a fully insured option next to a level funded option properly on a client-ready spreadsheet. And the other, inverse is true also when you have a small group that might be getting a large increase on their level funded product. Yes, the ACA is a safety net, but we also want to be able to show, hey, you're currently on level funded, here's your fully insured options, side by side. And that's something that we do well that I think sets us apart. And we're seeing a lot of that kind of back and forth with the options on ACA shrinking and the options for level funding increasing. We're seeing a lot of brokers kind of, dive into what that might look like for their clients and wanting a good product to show them.
I agree. You touched on something there is, brokers are problem solvers, right? And at its core, I look at us and the GA market at large as we're consultants, right? And it's our job at its core to find solutions and opportunities for our brokers. So it's not just putting a market-ready proposal out, right? It's also working with the broker to identify the solutions and the opportunities. And having an opportunity over the last number of years watching all of you work, I think that's really one of the greatest values is, yes, we have to put a good product out in front of them, right? But it's also providing insight and information to help them kind of say, there's a lot of noise out here. There's a lot of different things moving around, carriers, plans, level funding, fully insured ACA, ICRAs, and other things, right? And it's really helping them kind of understand and weed through all of that to get to that right solution for that individual client. One of the things that I'll ask you, Michael, is, when you're getting that RFP process or that opportunity where the broker's like, hey, like we've got this case, this is kind of what's going on. Walk me through how you look at that case and what you hope to be able to deliver back to the broker.
We really want to be able to tell a story of what they're seeing, why they're seeing what they're seeing, right? And so I think that goes into our relationship with the broker there and being able to pull out and see what the group is doing. Why did they get that increase? We have tools and ways of showing that and seeing, okay, this is where you're at right now because of these aspects in the group. You're seeing this increase where I think other players may not have that same kind of technique for them. And so I think they'll be more okay with the increase if they just know why they're getting the increase, right?
Well, so. and you bring up a great point is, what's the first question that the employer is going to ask the broker when they get the renewal?
Why?
Why, right? And helping the broker kind of understand, what's happening in the market. In a lot of cases, letting them know what's happening in the market before it even happens, right? Before they even get that renewal. And helping them be able to digest that and provide that feedback back to their employer group is key. Right? I think the second thing is then it's our job to go out and find a solution, right? Chelsea, how do you approach the solution finding portion of our job?
Well, we need to come up with a long-term strategy. The strategy cannot be every year moving on price. That's not going to look good when we go to the carrier with the RFP. So really talking through, what are their goals at the end of the day? Do they want to go self-funded one day? Are they comfortable with level funded? And then also looking at their population, seeing, what catastrophic claims or diagnoses they may have, and then tapping into the carriers, because a lot of carriers do have wellness programs and apps that they can utilize. I mean, we want to make their population healthier and help them do so.
You hit on something that honestly I didn't even think about, is really helping brokers come up with a long-term strategy, not just in those acute moments that happen, but really helping them position that case for 3 years out, right? Like really digging into understanding what are their objectives, right? What's unique about this employer group? What's unique about the agency, right? I'm gonna go to you now, Yolanda. So when you're going through that process with your team, talking to your broker, tell us about your process a little bit. Like, what do you do to find that like immediate solution and then also set them up for success as they move through the future with that client?
So one of them is just looking at the renewal. So if it's a level funded, you're usually going to get some sort of reporting, some sort of idea of how the claims are actually running. So it's actually the true cost for that group. With ACA, one of the solutions that we have to, you talked about forward thinking on what to expect. We have those heat maps that we provide our brokers that actually dig in by specific area and what the trends are for each carrier, which I think is really helpful. So, you come a few months down the road, we have that report ready just to kind of know what to expect at the very bare minimum. But when it comes to level funding, Michael, you hit it right on the head about understanding the why. So you might get a bad renewal on a level funded quote, and it's based on claims. So is that claim an ongoing claim? Is that claim an accident where it's kind of a one and done, but it was a big one? These are conversations you can have to try to renew the group, or these are conversations when you put it out to bid to try to get a competitive quote. So there's all these little things you can do, and it's going to be based on the group and their situation.
I think you're spot on. I think that's a very astute approach to it. And so, Mark, I'm going to come to you now. Hearing what your peers have said, right? Like creating a solution, creating a long-term strategy for the broker and the client. What tools as an organization do you lean on the most to bring that value forward?
Our people and experience, I think, having that conversation, they've all hit on some absolutely wonderful points, and it all leads back to kind of our relationship with the broker and the carriers and knowing the market, because having that conversation and a story to tell, comes from the broker, right? The broker is the front line. They're talking to those employer groups day in, day out. So to have a conversation with the broker as those RFPs come in, and just get to the bottom of what everybody here said is this employer just shopping price? What are we, what's the goal here? What's the end game? And the broker will be able to tell you, hey, they've been with Blue Cross for 15 years. This is a market shop, right? And that's great. We are here to support market checks. We're here to support in-depth planning. And I think that with all of the tools, looking into the claims, is data important? Because there's, carriers approach data a little bit differently, right? So is this employer truly interested in learning more? Maybe they're going to be growing from 20 to 30 employees all the way up to 50, 60, 70, and they do want to have that 3-year plan of, hey, let's go fully insured, level funded, hey, we'd love to be, stand on our own from a fully self-insured, unbundled standpoint at some point. And when we bring in some other Amwins tools, such as, maybe we partner with Stealth for some forward-thinking, thoughts, or Amwins RX.
Stop loss.
Yeah, on the stop loss side. So it's about having that relationship with the broker, but also having the relationship with our carrier partners so we know what tools we have in our back pocket. One quick thing, we were just at a Amwins Sales and Leadership Conference, and someone described Amwins Connect as a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just the coolest thing ever, right? I just immediately geeked out on that because there's so many tools that we have. You hit it on it earlier, is no one broker is the same and no one case is the same.
100%.
So back to your original question, is really the tools that we use is our communication and our relationship with the broker and carriers to be able to solve problems and be a consultant.
Love it, love it. So I'm going to pivot a little bit, guys, right? We're going to come back to Amwins in a minute, but I really want to dig into each one of you, right? Because at the end of the day, brokers have options, not only in the carriers that they work with, but also GAs, right? Let's be honest, there's worthy competitors out there that do great things, right? I think the thing that makes us unique and different is you, all of you, right? Each one of you brings something special to that relationship. What, from a personal perspective, do you think your secret sauce is as an individual, Chelsea?
Well, so in my 15 years, I've worked in implementation, account management, and obviously new business sales. And I think I have a really good feel for the member and what is expected and needed from the client and the members. And my goal really is to bridge that gap between the carrier and make things easier for the broker, but also the members. Like, that hits me in the heart. I want them to be able to access care and utilize it in a way that is cost friendly.
You brought up something that I hadn't even thought about as we were doing these questions, and that there's a user at the end of this, right? There are people that we don't necessarily see or know that really are going to depend on this. They're going to have a life event at some point. Not all of them, but some of them, right? And I think taking that approach of saying, how does this decision impact this person that might have a crisis, might have something to come up in their life, right? That's very, very important, and positioning our work around them is very, very key. So I like hey, we're here to serve brokers. Hey, we're here to work with our carrier partners. But at the end of the day, there's a member out there that's going to need to use that. I like that approach. How about you, Michael? What's your secret sauce?
I look up a lot to my colleagues here. They have way more experience than I do. But I'm very passionate about what we do collectively. And I can align myself with the Amwins in that passion as well. We have the 150-year vision.
Yeah.
We are not going anywhere. We're still privately owned, and so there's a lot there that we're really solid inside the marketplace, and I feel like I can align with that. I'm really solid here. I love to learn new things and experience new things. I think it's just that exceptional service that we provide, but from passionate people.
Having an opportunity to get to know you over the last couple of years, right? You're right. Your passion as an individual, I think, is what separates you, right? And that passion comes from, I really care about the people that I'm serving and supporting.
Correct.
And I really want them to have a great experience. Not because, hey, we love to win the sale or have that one great opportunity, but I look at these people as friends and partners, and I really want them to make sure that they're positioned well to win, and not win from the sale perspective, but to provide a quality result out to the employer group. So your passion definitely is your secret sauce. I love that. So how about you, Mark?
Oh man, I think Chelsea hit the nail on the head, and Michael too. There's an end user at the end of what we do, what our brokers do, what our carriers do. Having 8 children in a large family, we use a lot of healthcare.
I was going to say, you might have some utilization.
Yeah,
in
and
at some
so,
point.
we've all been that end user. And just before we got kicked off here, I was talking to one of the gentlemen in the studio here, and they're 5 weeks out from having a baby. They're just looking for some advice. Is how do we navigate this, right? That's the part that is happening every day, all day with our broker partners, whether it's a prescription refill or a new prescription or a pre-authorization. There's just so many terms that we feel like we hear every day and are just second nature to us, and we, for the most part, understand them. There's always something to learn, right? But at the end of the day, there's a user looking for an ID card, looking to understand the deductible and co-insurance and all these acronyms and phrases that we throw out on a daily basis. They need help with. And one of my favorite things is helping brokers with open enrollments.
Yeah.
I love the education piece of our business, right? Whether that's behind the scenes and providing a good benefit book, making sure that the information inside of their enrollment platform is up to date, accurate, and provides good access to their telemedicine, to their ID cards, how to get ID cards, or if it's actually helping that broker facilitate an open enrollment meeting where you get to educate the employee so that when they go to use their health insurance, they are at least as educated as they can be, and they feel like they're getting at least the best value that we can for them. So yeah, nail on the head, end user for me, from the very first moment I stepped foot in this industry 21 years ago, that has never changed for me.
So I love that, right? And I think you're right. We lose sight a little bit as professionals in this industry, and we interact with it. It's very complex, right? So the secret sauce of trying to make the complex as simple as you can, I think is very important. But you also touched on something that I think is equally important. We put a lot of effort in education, making sure the right selections are made, making sure that the individual consumer, the employer, and their family are on the right plans, but things happen. And I think one of the secret sauces that I've seen from you, Mark, is when that thing goes wrong, you're there.
Absolutely.
You're there to engage at the individual issue level to find a resolution.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's insurance. And one thing is, as soon as you think you know it all, you don't.
Yeah, 100%.
Something changes, but at the same time, like, things do go wrong, right? And at the end of that, there is typically someone, trying to file a claim, or an employer that doesn't understand their bill or what have you. And we absolutely need to be the liaison for that broker if they so wish to lean on us for our expertise and our ability to see the whole picture and help get to the root of the challenge and find a solution to that challenge.
Love it, love it. Yolanda, a lot's been said, so what's your secret sauce?
What's funny is you talk about, how things sometimes go wrong, or you have to find a solution for something. And one thing I definitely use as a life lesson to my girls is when something doesn't go on track, you have to pivot.
Yeah.
So pivoting can mean anything from trying to fix a solution, how are you going to do that, and being creative to do it that way. We had our carrier symposium, and we talk about a member-facing, member-level experience, and they were able to give some pretty good insights yesterday. One of the carriers said how you can start viewing your ID card prior to them being in the system, prior to them being active if they're changing. I thought that was pretty great, because having a change when you're in the middle of a treatment or medication, that is a huge stressor for members. So it's, that's one way, a tool in our tool belt now, we know how to pivot.
That was my biggest takeaway, I think, is to your point. You ask a carrier what their biggest goal or their biggest thing looking forward to work on is. It's been rates, it's been this or that or technology, but member experience yesterday came up several times with almost every carrier.
Well, to that point, though, is each carrier, they're doing it their own way, though. And so that kind of opens up the opportunities for us and the personal needs that our clients will need, right?
That's right.
So it's really cool to be able to tap into that. Yes, they are focused on carrier experience, but that's different within each one of the carriers. And so we can really highlight that and leverage it to the benefit of others.
That's a Swiss Army knife, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
all of you
Absolutely.
are expected to know all of the carriers, all of their new tools. And our brokers are out there doing the same thing, right? But just like you had said, Mark, like when you think you know it all, you don't. And a lot of times our brokers are in the same place, and they're really looking at all of you to say, hey, did you know? Or hey, were you aware that they just did X, right? And not just that they did it, but how does it apply to the member's experience? Like, how does it actually apply to the group and their overall satisfaction with their healthcare, right? But the consistent message that I'm hearing from all of you is passion. Your commitment to the people you work with and the people that they work with and serve, right? And at the end of the day, I think that's what makes all the difference. If we were to do a panel of all of our other GAs in the marketplace, right, there's probably a lot of similarities when it comes down to the core things. But I think that the foundational passion and commitment to the people we serve is the key. And I'm hearing that from all of you from an overwhelming perspective. And I think it makes a difference, right? People want to work with people that are as passionate about their business as they are. And I think I'm definitely picking that up from all of you, all right?
We actually care.
That's right. That's right. And it's important, right? It's not a transaction. And I think that's why Arizona is so special because, again, I have an opportunity to visit a lot of different markets. I get to go to a lot of different states. I get to interact with a lot of different carriers. But there are people that I met yesterday that knew Mark when he was in high school. Right?
Scary.
That have known all of you, and in your case, Yolanda, known your family. So these relationships are truly personal, right? You're going to see people in the Phoenix area at the grocery store, right? And so I know all of you want to serve them and meet their expectations, exceed their expectations, right? And again, I think that this is an area of excellence for our organization right here in this room as each one of you. But I'm going to pivot back now to Amwins a little bit and just the GA landscape. We're the new kid on the block, right? There's a lot of established partners, a lot of really respected partners in this market. If you sat down with a new broker tomorrow and said, this is the one reason I think you should work with us, this is the thing that I think brings the most value immediately to our relationship, what would it be? And Yolanda, I'm going to come to you first.
That Swiss Army knife. Yes, you're right. I respect our competitors in the industry because at one point I was working with them, and you never know
friends too.
How it comes back full circle. But definitely the Swiss Army knife analogy is a good one, just because of all the technology tools that we're bringing to the market. That that's the kind of the whole digital way we're going. And Amwins is ahead of the curve on that when it comes to the ways we implement cases or the ways we build technology out for our brokers or help in that regard, because it's also costly. So we can bring those resources and tools. The other thing is all the arms in our organization. So we've got a PNC arm, we have the stop loss arm with Stealth, and now with our new partnership with Nelligan, we have more of a deeper dive with the ancillary side of the benefits too. With all of these tools and resources and leaning on each other, I just know I can call Chelsea up, Mark and Michael. I am you anytime. I can text you, and same with me. Like that's just how I've always rolled. Same with our partners in our other states. So like our colleagues in California, got to meet them and get to know them. It creates this synergy, and I think that we can really bring a lot of resources to our broker community because of us.
So if I'm hearing you, one of the strategic values that you think Amwins brings forward is, of course, they get you, but they get everybody else here and a broader organization, right? Brokers that might have an out-of-state opportunity, right? Or maybe they're looking at a solution that's not as familiar to the market. There's always someone at Amwins that's seen that, touched that, experienced that, and can provide information and education around it. Bigger doesn't always mean better, but having more people doing what we're doing in a broad landscape is a true asset. I agree with that. Yeah. Michael?
I would lean on right now Employee Navigator, I think, because in the Arizona market, it's really big. And what we can do for that, as far as the builds, that's concerned, that really saves the client a lot of time, especially with the fourth quarter coming around the corner.
Oh boy.
And making sure that that's done correctly and just put through, that right there can alleviate a lot of pressure and time off of their plate. And so I think that's just one little tool of that Swiss Army knife. But if we could highlight on that a little bit, I think that's a really big asset for us here in the market right here.
No, and Michael, I think you bring up a great point. Like, I think one of the greatest values that we have as Amwins is that I want our brokers to lean on us, right? I want our brokers to say, hey, my staff is really busy. We've got a lot going on, and knowing we're going to be there. And not only be there, we're going to do a great job for them, right? So if that's doing navigator builds or any other type of operational support, we keep saying the Swiss Army knife. I was going to say toolbox. The toolbox in Swiss Army knife is big.
I like the Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army
sounds
knife.
cooler.
We'll say that. There's a lot of different things you can pull out of that, and I think having the conversation with the broker, understanding what their priorities are, what their needs are. I know you guys are sick of this when I say this, but when you've talked to one broker and agency, you've talked to one broker and agency. Their goals, their needs, Their areas of opportunity are unique to them. And I think the value is, like with Navigator, is finding that one area where we say, hey, let us help you here, right? This will free you up to do this other thing that's important to you, right? And really being a consultant, right? We want to be business partners. I don't want to just be your GA. I want to be somebody that you lean on, right? And I think that really comes out of the whole Navigator perspective.
Yeah.
How about you, Chelsea?
Well, I think Yolanda hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of brokers now are diversifying their book of business, or their agency has a P&C side. And also, it is our internal relationships. Our internal relationships help us serve the external world. So we do sales and leadership conferences, and it looks like on LinkedIn it might be all fun and games.
I think there are some fun and games. Okay.
There's fun and games,
Yeah.
but we are building that relationship with each other and sharing secrets and what we're seeing in the market. And then when one of my Arizona brokers comes to me and has, say, a California case, I feel comfortable passing it off to one of the California reps, knowing that they're going to take care of it just like I would.
You bring up a very important point, right? Because our relationships are so close and intimate with the other markets in the other states of Amwins, right? Knowing that when you have a broker here locally in Arizona that might have a Florida opportunity, a Georgia opportunity, a Connecticut opportunity, and of course California, is I know that person that the broker is going to be working with. Like, I'm going to strategize with them. So the broker's not getting like, oh, call Joe in Mandeville in Maryland, he'll take care of you. It's a personal relationship that you're guiding the broker through it. But it's also great to have somebody that you know and you trust that's in that market, knows that market as well as you know your own market, right? Because at the end of the day, the broker wants a consistent experience if they're working with you here or working with someone else. And I think that is one of our strengths for sure, is they're going to get that consistent experience from us.
Absolutely.
Mr. Stiles.
All right.
Mr. Stiles.
I love going last because I can just say ditto.
Ditto. All right, I'm coming to you first on the next one.
No, I just jinxed myself there. But no, everybody's hit on some great points. One of my favorite parts of being on the GA side is having that conversation with the broker and peeling away, I call it kind of the onion. We've got a slide deck that's really long, and I definitely use it from time to time, but for the most part, it's that conversational piece with the broker or the broker support team, and really diving into where can we fit into your organization to make those wheels turn a little easier. And that might be Employee Navigator build. I'm so glad you brought that up, because our technology team and our Employee Navigator build team and Ease build team and just our online enrollment platform builders are second to none. A lot of them are employees of Ease or Navigator from the past. I mean, they're absolutely hands down. They speak a different language, frankly. When it comes to everything, they do a wonderful job at having those in-depth conversations with our brokers. And maybe it is the technology piece. Maybe it's spreadsheeting. Maybe it's the Employee Navigator builds. But really peeling apart the onion and diving into the root of their organization. And I think you hit it on the head when you said allowing them to do what they do best, right? Maybe they rock Employee Navigators builds out of the park. Great, awesome. We're gonna, flip over and help them in another area that they might not do, and maybe they do it well, they just don't have the time or the resources to do it efficiently and help that broker run an efficient business. And we have so many tools, whether that's, hey, we got a case in Texas, or all the different aspects of Amwins Connect and Amwins as a whole, as a multi-state general agency, is just super exciting. I geek out on it.
Love it. No, I think that's a great point. And I'm going to kind of stay with this theme a little bit. Mark, and true to my word, I'm coming to you on this one. So for the brokers that are going to see this on social media and through our outreach campaign, maybe it's somebody that you haven't worked with yet.
Sure.
What's the one thing that you would want them to know about Amwins?
We care. We've said it a couple times. We care, and we're all in, as was one of our kind of themes. And by that is we have a lot of, as we've talked about, tools, but we truly care. We're all in. We're here for the long term. We have a 150-year vision, right? This is not a let's sell this group tomorrow and we got that win and we're happy about it, but at the same time, we're in this for the long haul. We're in it for those long relationships. Of that broker doesn't win this case this year, that is great. We did what we could to help you. Let's look forward, whether that's helping in one group build a 3-5-year plan or helping that broker build a 3-5-year plan.
Yeah.
Where do they want to go with their book of business? We are truly here to build relationships and partnerships and help our brokers win. And that win is defined by them, and we're here to support them.
So the one thing you just said, I'm sorry, that really just hit me was the win is different to them, really. And it's on us to understand what that is for each individual. In the 80 pages of our capabilities deck, right? Only maybe 2 pages apply to
Exactly.
that, right?
Yeah.
And it's finding the right 2 pages.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go a little more focused with you, Yolanda, on this. Like, if there was one tool, resource, capability, something specific, you're like, man, I really wish the Arizona broker community knew this.
I do have a new broker that I had never met before that came to our symposium yesterday, but one of the things that I guided her towards was our master carrier guide.
Okay.
So they've really revamped our website, and I'm one of those people that bookmark everything. So I've got one for one carrier, one for another, where I know to go in and find stuff. Well, with this Amwins website, it's all in one place. And it's really seamless. Like, you can go and filter by state, by plan, the group size, and find everything from underwriting guidelines to marketing material. And the way they've done it is just very slick. They just revamped it. That is one thing that I think is huge. And talk about a Swiss Army knife. It's all in there. So
Super cool.
I use it every day,
Yeah.
actually.
It's a
myself.
great tool. I mean, because think about this, having you, obviously, each one of you as a resource is very important, right? But sometimes a broker just wants to look for something, right? They have that case where, like, hey, maybe participation's a little off, or we need this one little thing, and just having that resource that gets you to that specific underwriting guideline and that specific result and says, these are the 3 solutions or the 3 carriers that will be able to address that thing is so important. Yeah, I think that's a great
Solid point.
Great call. Chelsea, how about you?
Hands down, DigiOne.
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 I was waiting for DigiOne. Yeah. All right. What's DigiOne?
So it's our own proprietary software, and what it does is it scans the employee applications and will transfer it on to the carrier. So when I worked in implementation, we would get to the part of the call where they would bring up the template that was needed, and the line would go dead. The broker wouldn't say anything, the client wouldn't say anything, because they were overwhelmed by how many things were going to be needed on this template. So that software takes that completely away, and that's something that brokers can then go out and offer to their clients. Hey, I'll do this for you, but it's really us working behind the scenes for them.
I mean, honestly, I think it sounds so simple, right? But as much as we're in a digital world now, our clients still deal with a lot of paper.
All the time.
All the time, right? And it's how do you give that individual employer group a digital experience when they're working from paper? DigiOne. Not only does it read all of them and it finds any missing stuff or stuff that can't be read, and it does it in English and it does it in Spanish, right? Does all of our carriers, it drops it right into that carrier's format in 10 minutes on a 50 life case? It's fast, right? So the days of our brokers having to sit there or having someone in their office do data entry, that's time they could be doing other stuff that's more meaningful to an individual client. I think that's a great call out. Michael, how about you? And you can't use Navigator.
No, I was just going to say ditto. It's my turn to say ditto.
Yeah, you get to go
it's
last.
hard going last.
No, I think I would kind of lean on the aspect of how we're always changing and innovating. And we talked about the website, we talked about DigiOne. These are things that we saw a need for and can always up our game. And that's one thing that I really like about Amwins is no business is perfect. Amwins is pretty close, but we're that way because we keep on saying, okay, we can change this, we can change, we're always tweaking, we're always looking, we're always trying to do the next best thing for our clients. And that's something that I would really try to focus on. We're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again, unless if it's right for our client. But other than that, we always want to be able to pivot. We mentioned we want to be able to be relevant in the market. We really want to bring that experience to everyone and make it as seamless as possible for them. So
you brought up a great point. Is we are a sales organization at its heart, right? But we also are listening to the market and all of you. You in this room are closer to what's happening day to day and where the needs are, but so are our broker partners, right? And so flexibility is very, very important. Investment's very, very important. And I think that truly is one of our strengths is we listen. Where is the need? Our market is not static. What we think is true today may not be true tomorrow. Where the need is today might not be the need tomorrow. And I think this is where maybe some of the size and infrastructure and resources we have really become an advantage is that we have the ability to listen, take the feedback from the individual markets, and try to find solutions that make sense here. Not make sense for us, not fit within our workflow, but really taking our tools, resources, technology, infrastructure, and people and wrapping it around that individual agency and client.
Yeah, and I was just going to piggyback on that because it was all that kind of to me lends to that 150-year vision.
That's right.
During our symposium yesterday, our speaker brought up the example of Blockbuster. And I've always loved this example because they didn't pivot. They weren't listening. No. They didn't see what the market was doing, and then we all know how that ended up for them, right? So when you're a company like Amwins and you have a long-term vision, you can sit back and say, hey, these are the things that are changing. And if we don't adapt and with our brokers and with the markets and in all these different states, we're not going to be here in 150 years, right? So just such great points, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's spot on is, adapting and evolving, right? And having the ability to listen. I think part of our job is to listen to the broker community, listen to our carrier partners, listen to the employers and the member, and try to bring resources and tools to that solution, right? And never ever allowing yourself to not ask the question of how can we get better? How can we be better? Yes, we have our 150-year vision, which is very, very important, but the one thing that this organization never stops asking is how can we be better? And challenging ourselves to ask ourselves, like, where are we not best in class? And acknowledging that and trying to become best in class in that area. Never going to be perfect. I don't think perfection is something that's achievable, but you can try, right? And I think that all comes from the spirit here in the room as well. So I'm going to wrap up here in a minute, but first and foremost, I just want to say thank you. There is just an incredible amount of talent right here in front of me right now. A lot of passion, a lot of experience. I'm excited about the Arizona market, right? And you guys make me excited on a day-to-day basis, right? Because it starts and ends right here. We've asked a lot of questions about you as individuals, about our organization, about kind of where we're heading, where we think we're best in class, where we think our greatest values are. What is your parting comment for the broker community and the Arizona market at large? As we head into Q4, we start doing business planning for 2026. Yes, that's happening. What do you want the market to know?
Well, I'll piggyback off the conversation we were just having. So when I first started, you told me, Jack, come to me with what you need. Tell me what's going on in the market.
And she does.
And I do. And I do. And we will get it done for you. So although we are a large company nationwide, I want brokers to know that I have your number on speed dial. I have Adam Mathis's number, and I can get things done, and we will get them done because their clients are so important to them, and that's what's important to me.
I agree, and I'll just touch on this. I've had the opportunity in my 30 years to work in a lot of great organizations, right? The single greatest asset or strength we have as an organization is we're flat. We're not a hierarchy company. You have a question, you have a need, you have something going on, you call Adam. Right? The president of the organization, he's taking your call. And trust me, he's as passionate about what you're talking about as any of us, right? Knowing and having the organization at the highest level interactions to the market is a strength. It really is. I've been in organizations where I've been so far from the market, I don't even really know what's going on, right? Like, I don't know what the pain points are, but I sit in my cool office with a great view and feel like I have all the solutions and I don't even know what the problems are. So I think that's a great perspective. How about you, Michael? What's the thing you want them to know?
I think with everything that we talked about today, we touched on a lot of the tools on the Amwins knife, but there's more in depth that we can go into. Connecting with us on amwinsconnect.com. You can find each one of us there in the Arizona side of things, or whatever state they're in. They will be able to get more information on each one of those aspects. So no matter where you're at in your business, if you want to level up with your sales, marketing, or support, we can do that for you.
You bring up a great point, right? I think all of us in this room value and appreciate loyalty, right? Like long-term partnerships and commitment, right? We all want those from our brokers. But I always tell brokers, if you went back to your client and said, I haven't taken your case out to market in 5 years, you'd probably be in trouble. And so when I talk to brokers, is give us 60 minutes, give us 30 minutes, just to talk about what we do, who we are, and how we think we can help. What's the worst thing? You hear something interesting and you ask your current GA partner if they can do that or not, right? Because being the new kid on the block, the new GA in the market, there's a lot of new that we bring, and the only thing we can ask, like you said, from the market is give us a few minutes. Let us tell you our story. And I think if brokers do that, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
They really will.
I think we would be very remiss if we didn't address the glue that holds us together, which is our operations and our supports.
Great point.
I'm probably going to get the numbers wrong, but Amwins Connect, we've got roughly 400 employees.
Yep.
Right?
422.
422. So in 59
Yep.
sales folks.
Yep.
Right? So for every sales individual, there's 4 people behind the scenes truly holding the glue together. They are as passionate as we are, and they are just out there to support us, support you, and kind of going back to your point of how kind of flat we are as an organization. Everybody does everything they can to make that team feel supported and appreciated. And if there's a challenge that we might have, we work together with our operations and with our BSRs and our support teams to just see how we can get better. So we have an amazing, back end and support system and support
Call
teams.
them out by name.
Yeah, Maddie Robinson is one of our BSRs. Jody and Liz currently, and Jonas is going to be kind of training with us this fourth quarter. But they truly are I tell people they keep me in line. They keep, they truly hold us together and do the magic.
Mark, thank you for bringing that up, right? Because at the end of the day, we can achieve a lot of success, but it doesn't get done without that team, right?
100%.
And those individuals are dedicated to the Arizona market. They're probably going to speak to a broker and their staff as frequently, if not more, than probably the 4 of you, right? They are equally as passionate and committed to serving our brokers and finding solutions and delivering a good product to them. So I appreciate that. That's probably a big part of the secret sauce right there.
It is part, yeah. We appreciate them.
Yolanda, how about you?
I would say ditto to that. We talked about the relationships we have internally. So just an example, this morning at like 6:30, Maddie texts me, hey, I'm so sorry to text you this early, but we got a BAFO from a carrier. Do you want me to go ahead and send it? I go, absolutely, and never say sorry for texting me, ever.
And what does that say about her that she's thinking about that at
6:30
6:30 in the morning, right?
Right.
Like you have to really
That's the
respect that.
commitment.
I think that's a testament to the passion.
That's
I think
the commitment our team has.
The theme is the passion, right? And as we wrap up here, first and foremost, I just want to say I am blessed every day to interact with people of high caliber, not just as professionals, but as human beings as well, right? Brokers may choose not to work with us, but it's definitely not going to be because you guys aren't great at what you do and you're not passionate, right? And the only thing, and I'm going to ask the question I asked of you, of myself, is what would I want brokers to know, right? And I would say it's all of you. Give each one of you an opportunity to show them not what we do as an organization, but what you guys do as individuals. And I promise they'll never look back. You guys are the best in the business. I say this all the time. I'm blessed to get to work with quality people like all of you. And I think Arizona's in great hands, and I'm just excited for what the future's going to bring, what the evolution's going to look like, and I know the 4 of you are going to be leading it. So thank you so much today. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being part of the Amwins family, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.